Okay, so just for the purpose of like Florida law, I have to get your verbal consent to record you?
You have my verbal consent to
Cool.
record me.
Okay, so I'm here with Professor Bailey, and I want to talk to you about the Honors College
Sure.
and what it means. So I first want to ask you like what you're trying to do with the Honors College, what the philosophy behind it is.
Yeah, so for me, the Honors College is about, in a sense, taking students and exposing them to alternative ways of thinking, of living in a hands-on manner, in an immersive manner, and to show them that there's diverse ways of living our lives, of constructing our reality. And I want to ask as many questions as possible, but provide no answers.
Okay, so make them think about stuff.
Make them think about stuff, but definitely let them find their own answers.
So how to think, but not what to think, basically.
Exactly. You put it
Okay.
perfectly. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I think that's awesome. So what is your approach to that end? Like, I noticed that there's a lot of interdisciplinary courses.
Yes.
So how are you trying to, teach students
Well,
how to think?
we have traditional lectures by faculty from different disciplines that we play off each other and learn from each other in our lower division courses. And then our upper division courses allow us to, in a sense, go deeper into certain subjects. And my huge commitment lately is to get rid of the wall that's between education and community at large, and to see that these abstract principles that we talk about, that you're introduced to, actually have different manifestations in the world. So I have a course that I teach on art, and since when we're looking at slides, as we just discussed, you're not looking at art, you're looking at photographs that are then projected, so it's removed. So what we do now is, in that class, about a third of the class meetings are off campus, where we meet artists, we go to artist studios, or we go to museums. Students are exposed to different ways of making art, different ways of thinking, but in the environment where those ideas are, rather than in the, I think, constrictive and somewhat safe environment of a classroom. It's very challenging. And then the more intense version of that is the 3 study abroads that I teach to Italy, France, and Spain, where we essentially spend anywhere from 3 weeks to a month in a complete cultural immersion in the countries. And that is, I don't want students' experiences in the Honors College to be only educational. I want them to be transformative.
Right. You mentioned a wall between like sort of the academia and education, or how did you phrase it? That there was a wall between the academia and the real world.
And the community, not necessarily the real world, because the academia is part of the real world also.
Right.
The community at large.
Yeah,
I think that we talk about a lot of big ideas, and we have a lot of analysis of community, but it's very abstract. And let's go there and see what the people that believe what we're doing or live the way that we're discussing actually do it. What do they think?
Okay. Yeah, one thing I've noticed sometimes is, which might seem a little crazy, but sometimes in my studies, I forget that what I'm reading about or studying about are things that actually are in the real world.
And I think as professors, we do that all the time. Things get broken down to statistics and data, but we have to remember that it's history that can be alive. There are people that have opinions that are going to challenge you. And one of the reasons I love the study abroad so much is students get as much from my lectures about the history of Rome as they do going to the grocery store in Rome and talking to Romans and trying to order mozzarella. That is as much, because the heritage, you study the history, but then the heritage, the living manifestation of it, is engaged in a way that it makes you realize how important this is.
Right. So there's almost like a shock when you read about something and then when you actually live it.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a whole nother level almost of.
It's another level, and it's also it's more challenging because in the classroom we can say certain things, we can have certain ideas, but then if you say those things out in the world, it might be completely different, you know.
Right. So how do you tie in your own background as an artist with the Honors College? So you mentioned that there's people from all sorts of disciplines. So how is it personally for you? What do you want to inject into the college?
Well, I'm very fortunate because, well, as many disciplines, art really covers everything. So just about any subject, history, religion, mathematics, literature, international relations, is all addressed in a direct and profound manner by art. So every time that we have a new topic, I don't think, how am I going to tie this to art? My thing is, which artists am I going to use? Because there's so many that address these different things. And then the aesthetics and values class, the upper division class that I teach, I don't have the students make art, but what I have them do is that they organize and curate and install an exhibition of professional working artists in Miami. And that is a total immersion into the art world. You have students that, this is what I'm saying as far as the immersion, that they can have all opinions about art in class, discussing with me and with students, but then they go to the artist studio, and when they see the work and when they talk to the artist, that might be completely challenged. And that is just as important, because I'm not there. They're going on their own to visit these artists. And then they have students that have been to a museum and seen an artwork hanging on a wall, and then they see the entire process of how that gets on the wall. So the person makes it, the museum approaches it, you hire an art handler, and then the student that maybe at the beginning of the semester did not even know how to use a hammer is then installing it on the wall. And so they see that the painting doesn't exist in a vacuum, right? It's not in the book, it's not in the professor's PowerPoint. The painting is a result of an individual that's living in a community, and all these factors are influencing it, and that presentation of that painting is part of a much larger picture. And so that's just one example.
Okay. So there's like some really intellectually profound things that you could gather up just from art.
And you would never get it if I could show you an artist and their neighborhood in PowerPoints, and maybe I could even show you an awesome documentary, which I love to see as well. But to actually go to the studio and see the mess that they have and the genius that they have, and then seeing where they go to get their coffee, and then transporting the work with them and installing it with them, that's a completely different experience. I hope that that's transformative.
Right.
I don't want art to be something that students study. I want it to be a part of their lives.
Okay. Well, it's definitely a part of the human life, like the human experience.
Yeah.
Very much. So sort of tying that back into the honors program, what do you think are the best things about the program, just in general, and what do you think are some improvements that you would like to see made?
So I think the strongest, the best part of honors is the community of scholars and the community of students that is allowed to interact, and I think the students flourish thanks to the administration that holds it together but leaves great freedom in there for students and for faculty to experiment. So you have a community of scholars that bounce ideas off each other. We disagree in different ways, and then we're allowed to try experimental pedagogical approaches, and that is so rare. I mean, when I go to Europe and I describe what the honors college is, oh, it's interdisciplinary. It's students from all different disciplines, and the faculty are from different disciplines as well. They say, what? Can you explain that again? We don't have anything like that here. And I said, I know. It's unique. And then but that's, in a sense, the arena, right? The faculty and administration are the arena. But the main players in that arena are the students. And they're the heart of the Honors College. And it's these students that are ambitious, brilliant, are full of integrity, and then it's a community of like-minded students that are just after not just excellence, but an inquisitive way of living. And to me, I get to live with the students because we go on these study abroads. I'm living with them for quite some time, and that is just a privilege to me. I'm just stunned, and and I follow their developments after, and I feel privileged to be a part of it.
Wow, that was beautifully put. Seeing the intellectual development of people and how you're taking a part of that. Is there anything you'd like to see improved or changed maybe a little bit or tweaked?
Yes, the one main thing, and I know that all of the administration, I think, of the Honors College and even of the university would like this, is just we don't have a way to pay for it, is I would like every student in the Honors College to be able to participate in a study abroad program, whether it's Cambodia, South Africa, France, Italy, Spain. I think that the hands-on approach and the particular interdisciplinary nature of the Honors College lends itself to study abroad. And I see what it does to the students that I do take, and I wish that they could all do that.
Right.
And some of them, I think also every student would want to, but it's expensive, and I wish that there were funds allocated from the state or from donors that would enable every student to study abroad.
So it's just the costs that are inhibitive, but aside from that, that sounds like a really great idea. Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to end a note with, or mention?
I think the one thing that I would like more from the students, and since speaking, is I would like the students to be willing to take more risks. I think intellectual, not physical risks, of course, but intellectual risks. Explore different ideas. Don't be afraid of a different idea. Don't be afraid of losing an argument. Don't be afraid of starting an argument and debate. It's okay, even if it gets heated, because I feel that students are often very timid, but no one is being held to anything in here. It's just, we want to present ideas because we want you to consider them. It's not that we want you to convert to something, no, but sincerely consider them and debate the other students. Be more open.
Do you think that might be a result of the fact that many students have never been exposed to something like this, and maybe they're trying to...
Yes, I think that that's the case somewhat, but I also think that some people are just uncomfortable also with the unknown.
And you think that's more of an innate thing to people, or because of external...
I think it's a result of often the environment that they live in, where exploring alternative ways of thinking or of living are looked down upon.
Okay. Okay.
And we're here in the honors to,
do away with that.
Just no. They can think whatever they think, but just to consider other things makes you stronger. The more you know, the more intelligent, the stronger you are. So look, these are different ideas. Open them up, and I would love for students to take different positions and just argue them for the day. And even if they don't believe it, I think it's good because it also builds community. So that's the one thing I would change. I hate a quiet classroom.
Encourage more people to debate, consider different things. Yeah. Right. That's what the program's all about, really. So.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
You're good?
Okay, Chris.